Story 1. I send the elevator to the lobby right before she gets home from work, and she thinks she is lucky every time. Story 2. She feels really happy when the cat hides a toy in her bag, so I secretly place one in there for her to find when she's having a bad day. Story 3. When I run to the store to grab some groceries, I ask him what he wants. He likes an expensive cereal and snack bars. He asks me to pick some up if they are on sale. Sometimes I buy them at full price because he deserves nice things. Story 4. My first marriage to my late wife was memorable. On the wedding day, the ring was stolen from my car, and I was in a panic. My two best men sprang into action. They took a picture of the ring and visited numerous jewelry stores, describing what had happened and looking for something similar. They found a talented jeweler who said, "I have something that's really close. Give me a bit, and I can make it perfect." He worked hard and finished the ring with about an hour to spare. Additionally, he managed to fix my car window. Only the three of us know about this. I continued to use the jeweler for all my jewelry needs, and I still do. He told my best men not to worry about the price and asked me to come by after the honeymoon to settle the cost. When I did, he charged me only for the materials. He is a great guy and retired during the COVID-19 pandemic. Story 5. My husband travels for work frequently, and we have a baby, so many of his first moments occur when dad is home to see them. Story 6. My husband believes he surprised me with a big gift. It was delivered when I was home alone in the manufacturer's box, so it was obvious what was inside. I asked my neighbor to hold it for a few hours and deliver it again when my husband got home. He was so excited when he answered the door, wrapped it up, and everything. This was over 5 years ago, and he still thinks he surprised me. Story 7. She thinks I do not know about her secret junk food stash, and yet those sour candies never seem to run out. Story 8. I pretend to be asleep when he leaves for work. He always gives me a gentle kiss on the forehead before he goes, thinking I am still sleeping. Story 9. I sometimes watch his YouTube videos, including gameplay, guitar covers, and anime music videos, on loop to boost the views. Story 10. I have a terrible memory, so I have a notes file on my phone where I write down all the small details about her that she tells me or that I find out. It is extremely organized, including how she orders her food or drinks in restaurants, places she wants to visit, movies she wants to see, bands or concerts she is interested in, her favorite colors or characters, just about anything really. Even future gift ideas, important dates, or date ideas like a picnic or theater date that she mentions interest her. She gets very happy whenever I say, "Wow, you remembered. We love dogs and we have a dog." She loves cats, but cats make me sneeze. We also have a cat. I have antihistamines. She doesn't know I take antihistamines like Dr. House took Vicodin. Story 11. I think his father is objectively attractive for his age. While that doesn't make me interested in or attracted to him, it does make me look forward to the future, since my husband resembles his father. Story 12. About 3 out of 4 nights, I get up and go sleep on the guest bed once she is asleep. She thinks it's because of my post-traumatic stress disorder, which is partially true. But the truth is, she snores like a yak drowning in yogurt. Since people keep bringing it up in the comments, here are a few additional details. Yes, she knows she snores. She doesn't realize how bad. Yes, she has seen a doctor about it. No, she does not have sleep apnea. Story 13. She planted tomato seeds in the garden and then went home for a month. I did what I could, but they never grew. So I went to the store, bought some plants, and planted them as if I had taken care of them the entire time. Story 14. Sometimes he goes on about his hobbies that I'm not a part of. He gets very in-depth about them and will continue discussing them, especially when something new is being released or there has been a significant change. I have no interest in them, and sometimes it's hard to follow because I don't have all the background knowledge he does. However, I try to use what I know to look things up so I can ask him questions later. Now, I even receive news recommendations about some of them, which allows me to ask him if he has heard about something. I never want him to feel like he can't be excited or happy with me, especially about the things he enjoys. Story 15. I told her I don't like pickles on my burger because I know how much she loves them. I tried it and now I think it's very nice. However, I am in too deep now, and she gets too excited when I give her mine. So I will take this one to my grave. Story 16. My wife is not a good bowler and dislikes it. A group of us went bowling. It was one of the earliest hangouts I had with her family. I was sitting with her little brother, who is 14, and he said, "I'm going to change her score." I thought he would put all strikes on the board for a laugh, but he just added 1 or 2 pins to each frame. In the end, my wife came in 4th instead of 5th and was so proud of herself. Her brother looked at me and said, "We take this to our graves." Story 17. I've learned that when I oversleep or forget to set my morning alarm, my girlfriend, soon to be my fiancée, always responds the same way. She gives me a few extra minutes to sleep and then comes over to kiss my forehead to wake me up. So now, on the days when I wake up before my alarm, I purposely turn it off and pretend to go back to sleep. I get to stay in bed for a few extra minutes, and I receive a forehead kiss. I will keep this secret from her at all costs. Story 18. My fiancée really enjoys what she calls trash TV, like the Real Housewives series. I always make it a point to sit down with her and let her enjoy this hour or two of mindless television. While she thinks it's overly sweet that I have snacks prepared, beverages on standby, or Chinese food delivered, I actually enjoy the show with her. After serving 8 years as an Army Ranger, I had trouble readjusting after being medically discharged. So watching this show brings me comfort and humor at the absurdity of some of the people featured. Now, I'm hesitant to tell my future wife that I get more joy out of her shows than she does. Story 19. I always order a drink she likes, but when she orders something out of the ordinary, I choose something for myself. I enjoy everything, and she is willing to try new things, but she rarely likes them. "Oh, but I got a cappuccino. You like that? We'll switch." I have been doing this for 9 years without being caught. Story 20. For me, my boyfriend is a deep sleeper. Sometimes in the morning when he struggles to wake up for work, I will purposely stretch and move around just enough to encourage him to start his morning routine. Story 21. I visited my 86-year-old grandpa in the fall, and his favorite thing to do is grow summer tomatoes, so I usually bring him some seed packets. This time he told me he had been slowing down a bit and wasn't going to garden anymore. It was too far away from the house and too much work, so I took a packet of tomatoes and threw the seeds by the fence outside his back door. I returned the next summer, and he had 2 or 3 massive tomato plants. He kept calling them surprise tomato plants and was thrilled that he was overwhelmed with tomatoes with virtually no effort at all. The pure joy and genuine happiness he experienced from these mysterious plants showing up and showering him with fruit is something I'll hold dear to my heart forever. Story 22. He recently spent a significant amount of money enhancing his car, detailing it to perfection. He was so excited to show me, and I honestly could not tell the difference from before at all. However, my performance was nothing short of award-worthy. Story 23. His favorite color, which he wears constantly, is my least favorite color. I will take this to my grave because he loves that color so much. Story 24. When we first started dating, I told my wife I didn't really like pizza. The truth is, I absolutely love pizza. I can eat an embarrassingly large amount of pizza at once. I am a thin guy but can consume a lot of pizza. I was once politely asked to leave an all-you-can-eat pizza place because I ate so much. After we got married, I partially told her the truth by admitting that I like pizza but got burnt out on it, so I don't want it all the time. However, when we do order it, I have to consciously make sure we eat at the same pace and only eat as much as she does. I fear that if she ever saw me really attack a pizza, she would immediately ask for a divorce. Story 25. My wife travels a lot for work. She believes that our 11-year-old daughter and I could never manage without her, and I let her think that. The truth is, the house feels more peaceful when she is away. My daughter and I have dinner together, enjoy wonderful conversations, and respect each other's privacy. I give her plenty of space at times, and other times we go on adventures and enjoy ice cream on the floor of the living room in our pajamas. It's genuinely nice. However, I would never tell my wife how pleasant it is, and I don't think our daughter would either because we both love her and want her around. Story 26. We had a pet rabbit that we loved dearly. Unfortunately, he got old and died at the veterinarian's office. I went in to see him one last time after he had passed, but my wife couldn't bring herself to. She asked if he looked peaceful, and I lied that he did. He didn't. His eyes were wide open, and he had a tube sticking out of his mouth. He looked so undignified, but I couldn't tell my wife that. Rest in peace, Max. Story 27. I love sleeping on the couch. With 2 young kids, a dog, and a cat that all enjoy sharing the bed. The couch is my oasis. Story 28. My husband and I have been together for 7 years. I have been keeping a secret journal of every trip we have taken together. I have ticket stubs, wristbands, and I even bought a printer for tiny pictures to use in a scrapbook. Sometimes there are long stretches in between, but I love being able to look through all of our adventures. I plan to give it to him when we are old and gray. Story 29. I don't like that she compliments me as much as she does. I've always disliked too much attention, and I appreciate that she loves me and is always willing to praise everything about me. It makes her happy, and it's not really a problem, so I don't tell her. Story 30. I am obsessed with fantastic Haribos. He is trying to lose weight, so I hide them in the pots and pans and eat some when he is at work. Story 31. My wife has well-controlled borderline personality disorder. When she is having a hard time, her family and I warn each other and coordinate helping her deal with it without telling her. I receive a text from her sister suggesting, "You may want to bring home chocolate and flowers." Story 32. I tell my wife that I work 15 minutes later than I actually do. I take a 15-minute nap towards the end of my commute home, so I am not so tired for her and the kids. It makes my evenings with them better for all of us. I have energy to play with the kids instead of falling asleep on the couch. Story 33. I have Nutella in the cupboard. It's right behind a tall container of brown sugar, so he can't see it and doesn't move anything around. Now I get to have the whole thing and not share it, which will last me much longer than if I had to share it. It's not really hidden, but he doesn't know it's there. Story 34. I keep a stash of snacks hidden in my drawer that I eat when they are not around. It is my personal snack stash, and it is not a big deal. They do not need to know. It is just for me. Story 35. Whenever she is on her way home, I take the dogs out to go to the bathroom, so when they come in, they are surprised and greet her happily. Second, I make sure to have the door unlocked for her and brush my teeth, so I can greet her with minty fresh kisses. She does not know I have done this every day she has worked for the last 8 years. Story 36. I don't like toast. She loves making me toast in the morning with different spreads. I'll never tell her not to. Story 37. Sometimes I volunteer to go grocery shopping alone, so I can buy sushi from Sam's Club and eat it in the car without having to share with our mischievous toddler. Story 38. He doesn't know the person I become when he's away for the weekend. Other than going to the gym and walking our dog, I'm living in his clothes and subsisting on diet soda, a charcuterie board, chocolate, and maybe some pizza. I spend my time watching anime, reading my books and manga, and doing nothing while talking to no one. Occasionally, I also get extremely high and dance to my music for hours with the curtains closed, of course. He's not a big snacker and doesn't watch anime, so this is my time. Story 39. I found the receipt for my engagement ring. I never said anything and let him think I had no idea it was coming. He holds onto this as the one time he was ever successful at surprising me. This was 6 years ago now, and I don't think I'll ever tell him. Story 40. I order coffee and a croissant most mornings when he works his morning shift, but if he calls me from work asking if I would like coffee, I always say yes. Story 41. She sleep talks nearly every night in coherent sentences. Sometimes she says she is craving certain foods or desserts, and I make or buy them for her the next day. I have learned about certain gifts she has gotten for me for special occasions because she blurts them out. I always act surprised because seeing her so happy to surprise me with a gift I want is something I really enjoy. Story 42. He mentioned in passing a post he made on a gaming forum that was getting mixed feedback. I found the post and downvoted all the negative comments. Not my sweet angel baby. Story 43. Slowly transferred money to her savings over a couple of years and then encouraged her to see if she had enough to pay off her student loan debt. Turns out she saved enough to pay it off in a big lump sum. Story 44. His family always texts me to ask what presents he might like for his birthday and Christmas. He told me the other day that his family has been getting him really thoughtful gifts for the last few years. I mentioned it's probably because he no longer does shift work and gets to see them more often. He agreed with that. I derive so much pleasure from watching him open the presents and seeing how happy he feels. Story 45. I am incredibly sneaky about finding the perfect gift. I explored her Reddit and found a post discussing her favorite book. She had mentioned it before, but the post reminded me, so I got her a copy in the original Russian and in English as an audiobook. I like to find gifts for her that she will never guess, in addition to the ones she already guessed. Story 46. When I met my wife, she praised me for understanding how women worked, thought, and lived, including how to please her in bed. She said I definitely had a lot of experience before her. I told her I had a long-term relationship before and explained what it was like, what we did together, and all the details. It was a lie. I was a virgin and had only watched many dating tips and videos about women giving advice to men. I will take this secret to my grave. Story 47. Sometimes I pack him lunches for work, but if I include fun snacks, such as an Uncrustable sandwich, a pack of trail mix, or almonds, I have to hide them from him or he will eat them all at home. That's fine. They're meant to be eaten, but it can get a bit pricey in this economy. Story 48. I am teaching my child to drive, and we always go to a food truck for a snack. When we get home and dinner is ready, we have to pretend to be hungry. Story 49. She travels often for work. Whenever she is not around, I check her car and fix whatever needs repairing, so she does not have to worry about anything. When she is home, we rarely need to use both cars, so we typically use mine. However, every 2 weeks, I take her car for a drive to prevent the battery from dying and to keep her fuel tank full. Cars are important and potentially dangerous, and she deserves not to worry about hers at all. Story 50. I understand a lot of Spanish. While I cannot speak it verbally, I can follow conversations and know when I am being discussed. He is half Mexican and half white. White people think he is Mexican, while Mexican people think he is white. He has a strong Houston accent when speaking English but speaks perfect Spanish. People often assume I do not speak Spanish, but after living in Houston for 30 years, it is impossible not to absorb the language. Story 51. Sometimes I look up the solution to a video game puzzle he is stuck on and give him hints to guide him in the right direction. Story 52. Not me, but my grandmother. My grandfather was from Italy. My grandmother secretly learned Italian so she could understand when her in-laws were speaking poorly about her. She kept this hidden for decades. Story 53. My boyfriend has an ex who would violently shake him awake when he was snoring and sometimes send him to sleep on the couch. I told him when he first started staying over that I liked his snoring because it meant he was comfortable. This is usually true as I am a heavy sleeper and it normally doesn't bother me. However, sometimes when I am tossing and turning and not having a great night's sleep, I want to put a pillow over his face. Story 54. My husband goes away on business for one night every week. This is my day when I can relax, enjoy some time for myself, watch anything I like, dance in my living room, and walk around the house comfortably while treating myself to a facial. Meanwhile, my husband gets to watch sports all night at the bed and breakfast where he is staying. Story 55. I always buy 2 bags of her favorite chips and stash one on top of the refrigerator since she is short. She gets the first bag down to broken bits and puts it away, while I open the full bag and refill it just enough to make it look like she has one more serving left. Story 56. My wife makes easy TikTok meals for me and presents them as if she created those recipes herself. I know they are from TikTok, but I appreciate her thinking she is special and that I am impressed by her originality. I'm not taking that away from her. Story 57. Sometimes, when I do things around the house, I don't tell her and just enjoy the pleasure of doing something nice without seeking credit or attention. Story 58. Sometimes I let him tell me things more than once because it makes him happy to talk about it. If he doesn't remember sharing his story, I pretend it's my first time hearing it and watch him get excited again, which makes me excited too. Story 59. Apparently, judging by a few posts on Reddit, the answer is not that you absolutely love their signature dish they make. Story 60. If he falls asleep before me, I give him a flurry of kisses. There is something about when he is sleeping deeply that really moves me. Story 61. Sometimes when I go to the store, he asks me to pick up something for him. It's often only available at the fancy grocery store, not our regular one, so he always says, but only if you were already planning on going to the fancy grocery store. Don't go to two places on my account. I always tell him that I was going to go to both stores anyway, as I needed things from both. It's almost always a lie because I can usually get what I need from our regular store. But I want him to have the things he wants. I want him to always ask for what he wants. And I know he would feel guilty if he knew I was making special trips for him. He caught me once and asked what special item I needed from the fancy grocery store because he only saw his item in the fancy grocery store bag. I lied again and told him they were all out of the fancy cheese I was looking for. Story 62. My wife prefers not to use many features and functionalities of electronics. She avoids automation and integration, keeping the number of apps on her phone to a minimum. When she buys a car, she prefers knobs and buttons over touchscreens. In contrast, I enjoy smart bulbs, connected thermostats, and integrating Wi-Fi and Bluetooth into everything. When I get a new device, I immediately explore every settings menu and preferences option available. She has an older sport utility vehicle, and one feature it has in the media menu is speed-dependent volume control. This feature adjusts the volume slightly as the speed increases. I activated it for her about 4 years ago, and she has never noticed that she doesn't need to increase the volume while driving on the interstate. I doubt she even knows her car has this option. Story 63. On our bed, we have a huge fleecy blanket that we fold and keep at the foot. She likes to pull it up as a second blanket. I always fold it in a specific way so she can easily grab it, pull it, and it unfolds nicely. If I didn't, it would be backwards, or she'd pull it up and it would be folded in half. She has no idea I remake it every day before she gets into bed. Story 64. I prefer my French press over his coffee machine. However, he loves making my coffee in the morning so much that I am keeping my mouth shut. Story 65. Whenever there is a variety pack of something, whether it's drinks, candies, or chips, my favorite is conveniently her least favorite. The truth is, most of the time I like them all, but I want her to enjoy the ones she loves without feeling bad about me not getting them. Another thought I had is that I often encourage her to stay home while I do the grocery shopping. I use the excuse that she has homework or studying to do, since she's working towards an advanced degree. The actual reason I want her to stay home is twofold. It's much quicker without her because I have my system for grocery shopping, and without her, there is no deviation. Additionally, it allows me to grab flowers and surprise her, which I can't really do when she's there with me. Story 66. A woman shared that when she went grocery shopping, she would buy gift cards to her favorite restaurants. On nights when she didn't feel like cooking, she would suggest going out for dinner, and her husband would often decline, saying they were trying to save money. She would then pretend to search for a gift card she received for Christmas, and once she found it, they would head out to Olive Garden. Story 67. I try to go to sleep before my husband because if I don't, his snoring keeps me awake for hours. I usually just refer to it as insomnia, as he cannot control it. Story 68. I cringe at his bad puns and corny jokes, but he loves them. I don't mind, though. It makes me happy to see him enjoying a silly pun or a classic knock-knock joke. His pure joy in those moments becomes my own joy, and even if I'm laughing at him and how funny he thinks it is rather than the joke itself, he still makes me laugh uncontrollably. Story 69. He loves gaming and is very passionate about Dungeons and Dragons. I am shy and not into fantasy or gaming, but I joined a campaign he is running. Every week, I tell him I am excited about playing and ask questions about how to play and the lore. It is not my thing, but I see how hard he tries to make it fun for me, and it costs me nothing to return the favor with enthusiasm. Story 70. My wife is a musician and can sing quite well, so this story isn't about her, but I will always remember it because it contrasts sharply with her talent. I read a comment a while back that said, "My wife loves to sing, and when she's singing her favorite songs, she is in her happy place. However, she can't hold a tune to save her life. I'll never tell her." Story 71. I made a note on my phone to keep track of how my days were going with my then not dating but testing dating girlfriend, so I can document my feelings for her. Now that it's been 5 months officially, I look back on how slowly but surely I fell in love with her, reflecting on my days and our interactions. It's something I haven't shared with her because it is my personal journey. I think about how lucky I am to find love and genuinely feel it. The note also includes the things she likes, doesn't like, her goals, and other details that I might forget. But I find comfort in that note. I don't plan to show it to her anytime soon, not because I'm insecure, but simply because it's for me. Story 72. When she is not home, I love being able to fart as loud as possible. The smellier, the better. Paint peeling sounds come from deep within. You never see the lightning because the cloud of stench is thicker than chunky peanut butter. No one wants to be a fly on that wall except actual flies looking for waste. Story 73. We love to eat bottle cap candy. We buy it in bulk and take a box to games or split one while watching a movie. He loves the cola and root beer flavors, and so do I. But at the beginning of our relationship, I lied and said grape and cherry were my favorites so he could enjoy the root beer and cola ones guilt-free. He always saves me all of the cherry and grape candies, thinking they are my favorites, when they are not. Story 74. I know how much she loves animals, so whenever we travel, I plan our path along woods and farms so I can hear the delightful sound she makes. I love it. Story 75. My boyfriend lacks relationship and romance experience. Before our first date, his equally clueless friend advised him to give me a flower in a pot, saying that women love that kind of gift. The friend didn't specify a live plant, so my boyfriend went to the grocery store and bought me an ugly plastic plant in a plastic pot. While checking out, he mentioned his plans to the cashier, who kindly told him it was a good idea because she'll never have to water it, and it will never die. He thought this was a great approach. When he picked me up for our first date, he got out of the car and handed me this hideous fake plant. I was confused and wondered what was going on, but I thanked him anyway. Fortunately, the date went really well, and I now love him very much. However, that fake plant sat on a shelf in my garage for a couple of weeks until I really started to appreciate him, and then I moved it to a prominent spot in my bedroom. I will never get rid of that silly thing. Story 76. Sometimes I wait until he is asleep, so I can have a few drinks and watch something funny. All he wants to watch is scary movies all the time, so I get my little buzz and entertainment, then go to bed before he wakes up for work. Story 77. There is a strange piece of faux fur fabric we had left over from making a costume years ago. One day, I found it in my sock drawer and laughed. I then put it in my husband's sock drawer. Now we hide it in random places for each other to find. Sometimes it takes months for one of us to come across it. I recently sneaked it into his luggage when he went on a business trip. Story 78. When we got married, we received a set of 4 matching bath towels as a gift. One day, while folding them, I noticed that one towel is about 2 inches longer than the others. That is now the one I use daily, even though my husband is a foot taller than I am. Story 79. He did not find all the sticky notes with doodles I hid in his apartment. I can't wait until he finds another one. Story 80. I make a point to mention random accomplishments, skills, or interesting quirks about my boyfriend whenever I talk about him because I want everyone to think he is as cool as I do. Story 81. I just want to say that I am loving how wholesome most of these answers are. They are so heartwarming. I guess my secret would be that every night before I fall asleep, I take a moment to silently give thanks to life, the universe, or whatever you want to call it for bringing him into my life. I know it's not much, but I couldn't imagine life without him, so I try to be as grateful as I can. One day, I might not have that anymore. Always appreciate your loved ones and make sure they feel appreciated. Story 82. This sword I am making for him is taking a long time. Let it be over. Let it be done. I am so close. Story 83. My husband doesn't wake up well to an alarm. It takes a solid minute before it even registers with him. I set an early alarm for myself every morning, 10 minutes before his goes off, and those 10 minutes are cuddle time before the long day starts. He likes to be the little spoon. Story 84. I take on random side jobs he is unaware of to help him afford parts for his race car or vacations for us. It may not be much, but it adds up, and he doesn't know the money exists. When he needs something for his car or we plan a trip, I have this little stash of spending money. We enjoy great times together, and he remains unaware, which keeps our budget intact. Story 85. I always laugh at his jokes, even though I find them quite silly. It makes him happy, so that's fine. I have heard the same 20 jokes repeatedly over the last 23 years. I don't mind. Story 86. I witnessed my son's first word and first steps while I was home alone with him, and my wife was out. I didn't tell her so she could have that excitement too. She still doesn't know, and she never will. Story 87. My wife loves the scent of my cologne. I'm out the door before she is up in the mornings, so when I spray it on, I drape her sweater over my shoulder to catch the overspray. More than once, she has commented that she can still smell me when walking to work. Story 88. I'm not listening to music when he's on the phone talking about me to his friend. I have a great appearance. I'm beautiful and confident. I'm skilled at my job. I'm a strong individual and adventurous. He enjoys our time together. Continues endlessly. He has no idea I pause my music sometimes when I hear him talking about me. It's not that he doesn't frequently say these things to me. It's just nice hearing him say them to his friends so casually. Also, we aren't actually together. We are more like very close friends with benefits, which makes it even funnier. Story 89. Several years ago, my boyfriend bought me a small espresso machine as a gift, and I unintentionally found it while doing chores. In fairness, he didn't hide it particularly well. He just placed it on the top shelf of a built-in dresser cabinet. However, I never told him that I stumbled across it, nor will I. Story 90. I realize how little I do when he's not home. We trade night shifts at our current job, so usually about twice a week, I am home alone all night. I spend that time snoozing and playing games to pass the time until he gets home. When he is home, I read, make art, watch movies, play with the cats, do chores, and whatever else I need to do. But during those 8 hours when he's gone, I do nothing. Story 91. Sometimes, while lying in bed together, I intentionally face the other way because she gets anxious every time and starts cuddling me from the back, which I truly love. Story 92. My husband has a boring sales job, but I keep a note on my phone with the names of all his sales prospects and a detail or two about them and the deal. Occasionally I'll ask, "How's the deal with XYZ going?" Or he'll be talking about a potential sale and I'll say, "Oh, is that the one who was having a huge problem with the third-party consultant?" I don't actually remember these things, but his eyes light up, and I can tell he gets so excited that I pay attention. As a very pregnant stay-at-home mom to a 3-year-old and my own side job, I can't possibly remember the details of his work without my notes. But he feels special, so I'll never tell him. Story 93. I enjoy playing a game I call Secret Donut. When I go to the store, I make a separate cash transaction for 1 donut. I eat it before I get to the car and discard everything in the parking lot, leaving no one the wiser. Story 94. I am a huge night owl, while my wife has to be up for work at 4:30 a.m. When she is asleep, I sometimes tuck her back in, smooth her hair, and make sure she has her weighted stuffed animal before giving her a little kiss on the cheek. Occasionally, I just watch her sleep for a moment and try not to cry because I love her so much. Story 95. I can smell every time he farts. Even if I walk into a room he farted in 20 minutes ago. I have a really strong sense of smell. We laugh about the noisy ones, but there's no reason to embarrass him when he thinks I didn't notice. Story 96. I can't stand the awful music he plays to get ready for work. Metal covers of good songs do not appeal to me. I dislike them more as I get older. I won't tell him because he feels young again and regains some of his confidence. Story 97. The reason I'm a good gift giver is that when she says she likes something or thinks something is cool, I add it to my secret Amazon cart and buy it for her. I'm always listening, even when she thinks I'm not. Especially when she thinks I'm not. Story 98. I have a collection of emergency snacks that my girlfriend enjoys. When she is having a bad day, I always grab some and place them in the pantry for her to discover. Story 99. She farts in her sleep so loudly that it wakes both of us up. I pretend to snore so she thinks I am still asleep. Story 100. Sometimes I take clean dishes out of the cabinet and place them in the drying rack. It seems I washed more dishes than I actually did. Story 101. Her dad writes her a Christmas card every year. I find the same card and rewrite what he says in it to give to her so she can read it better. His handwriting has worsened due to Parkinson's disease, so his letters and spelling are inconsistent. Story 102. I have little knowledge or interest in what a compound bow, recurve bow, or any other type is, or why each one is important for hunting. However, I genuinely enjoy listening to him talk about something he is passionate about. The same goes for box and mouth calls for turkeys. I can see he loves it and I want to hear about it regardless. Story 103. 5 out of 7 dinners a week consist of food I won't eat, but I know he likes it, so I just say I'm not hungry and eat after he goes to bed. Story 104. We have a cat that is obsessed with bottle caps and likes to put them in shoes to play with. So every so often you'll find a bottle cap in your shoe. One time, it made him sad that the cat didn't pick his shoes to store her bottle cap. So I threw one in there for him to find and make him happy. Story 105. I constantly think about them and how much I miss them in this long-distance relationship. I love them, and I find them very attractive. Story 106. When we would both be sitting on the couch, she would sometimes ask me to get up and get her a drink or snack rather than get it herself. It wasn't a big deal, but at some point, I felt I needed to ask her why she delegates it instead of just doing it herself. However, I knew that if I asked, she would probably never ask me again, so I kept my mouth shut. I decided that if she viewed me as always willing to get her something she needs versus the guy who complained about it, we would both be better off in the long run. Story 107. My husband is unreasonably hard on himself when he makes mistakes, even small ones. He is the best dad and partner I could ask for. I hate seeing him criticize himself for being human. If I notice something he did by mistake, like leaving food out and forgetting to put it back in the fridge, I sometimes just dispose of the evidence so he never finds out. Story 108. I have a special pair of tweezers that I hide from my partner because I am tired of them being moved or not being clean when I want to use them. Story 109. My husband washes plastic Ziploc bags and hangs them to dry in the dish rack. I throw them away. They never seem clean and always have residue in them. Story 110. I like Frito scoops, which are corn chips. My husband occasionally confuses them with Tostitos scoops, which are tortilla chips. I do not care for Tostitos scoops, but he brings them home as a treat for me, and I pretend to be excited about them. His kindness is what counts. Story 111. My husband grew up on a farm. His parents are good, hardworking people who struggle financially but would give you the shirt off their backs without expecting anything in return. We are in a far better place financially than they are, but they are not the type to ask for help. His dad has become upset in the past when we tried to offer assistance. He worries about his parents, especially as they age. His mom has health issues and added me as a proxy to her medical account years ago because I am the daughter-in-law in healthcare and hold a healthcare power of attorney. She has made comments about intentionally delaying or not getting care due to the burden of medical bills. Now I log in periodically and pay her outstanding balance. She has never mentioned anything. I have no idea if she knows. The receipts are available in her account, but I'm unsure if she is tech-savvy or health-literate enough to look for them. I won't bring it up to her unless she asks. I also probably won't confess to him unless he figures it out. I just like the idea of quietly doing what I can to help take care of the people he loves. Don't worry. I keep track on my end so nothing interferes with tax matters. Story 112. If he gets snacks or a drink, I ask him to choose whatever he wants. More often than not, he will pick something I don't like to eat or drink, and I just tell him to finish it because I'm too full. However, I want him to enjoy something he likes, even if I don't like it. I also offer him more food because I want to ensure he isn't going hungry either. Story 113. At the end of the cold season, when we put away the jackets, I put some change, whatever I have on hand, in some of his coat pockets. Next winter, when he puts his hands in his pockets, he finds it. He gets so excited because he thinks he just forgot it when he took his coat off for the last time. He works hard and doesn't treat himself much, and if I just gave him the money, it would hurt his pride. Story 114. I am struggling with my health, and it is quite overwhelming. I was recently diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and while she knows about my condition, I haven't shared how severe it can be. I also tend to hide my symptoms, as I work from home and want to be prepared before she arrives. I have become skilled at masking my struggles, so she remains unaware. There was only one occasion when she caught me crying, and I explained it by saying that my condition affects my emotions. Story 115. I always know where their lost items are, but I pretend to find them after a dramatic search to seem like a hero. Story 116. This reminds me of a story about my ex. When we first met, Guitar Hero was huge and we played all the time. I drum and play guitar, so naturally I was very good at it. One day, I let her win without telling her, and it was like the best thing she had ever done. She gloated and held it over me forever, and it made me happy to see her so happy, so I never told her. Fast forward a year, and it turns out she probably cheated on me. It's a long story, but there was a lot of evidence, including pictures of her on a date when she was supposedly at work, even though she never admitted it. I was heartbroken, and needless to say, it ended messily, and we had a huge fight. During it, we were taking shots at each other, saying things like, "You smother me," and "You never support me." I remember telling her I let her win at Guitar Hero that one time, and it was like her soul left her body. Forget the fact that our 2-year relationship just ended. How dare I tell her I let her win one time a year ago? It was so surreal. She stormed off, and her best friend, who was also my roommate, said, "You should never say that. What is wrong with you?" We never spoke again, and I never saw her after that. She never came back to get her things when I left the apartment, so I threw it all away, which felt great. It was bizarre how much it meant to her, I guess. Story 117. He is colorblind, so I just go with whatever color he chooses. Pink looks purple to him, so I accept that. Gray can appear green to him. Story 118. I dislike talking on the phone. He calls me while he's at work and wants to chat during that time. Before having children, I didn't enjoy it because I only had limited time to myself before going to work. Now that I have 2 children, my conversation skills are lacking since I spend all day parenting, trying to clean the house or cook, while he wants to talk. Sometimes, I wish I could sit down when they are both calm and enjoy some silence or scroll on my phone instead. I love him and enjoy talking to him when he's home, but something about phone calls drives me crazy. Story 119. I would have to discreetly wipe my face after kissing him. He has very oily skin, and I never mentioned it out of politeness. Story 120. I wash the wooden spoons in the dishwasher when I know I will be the one at home to unload it. Story 121. I handle the finances for both of us. I pay for almost everything using vouchers that provide a small cashback amount. I save these up and use them for Easter eggs, Christmas treats, and good quality coffee instead of the usual products we buy. Story 122. I rewatch our favorite show at home when I'm alone. I pretend I am seeing it for the first time when we watch it together later. I even throw in a fake gasp here and there. It is technically betrayal, but it is the tiniest, most innocent kind. Story 123. My high school boyfriend reached out to me. We talk every few years, but does it matter? I'm almost 50 now for reference. Story 124. When I take a nap in the afternoons, I don't sleep and stay awake because I know I snore heavily and will wake him up. I use my continuous positive airway pressure machine at night, but not for random weekend midday naps. When I realize he is stirring and will wake up, I pretend to be asleep. Then I fall asleep after he gets up. Story 125. We own 2 styles of bowls. I make an effort to ensure our bowls match at meals. When I am annoyed with him, I sometimes give him a mismatched bowl. Story 126. A favorite part of my day is watching him get undressed. Not in an overtly sexual way, I just like watching him take his clothes off and seeing him naked. It's weirdly soothing. Story 127. We are in a long-distance relationship, and she is doing her residency in surgery, so there are days when she is so busy that we do not get to talk much. These days are quite challenging for me, but I do not mention it to her because I do not want to add to her stress after being overworked and exhausted. Story 128. Sometimes while he is at work, I go out and buy his usual beer and hide it in the back of the fridge. Then when he finishes the beer he bought, I surprise him by saying, "Oh hey, there's one more beer in here from last night." He has worked full-time and taken care of me for months while I went through the worst depression I have ever dealt with. Being with him, I stopped wanting to end my life because then he would be sad. I try not to rely on him emotionally because it can get exhausting, so I hide it well most of the time. His secret is probably that he looks back at me from his computer twice every hour to see if I am doing all right. If I am not, then he drops whatever he is doing and comes over to show me affection. If I am doing well, he glances at me, smiles, and then goes back to what he was doing. Story 129. I signed up for giveaways and other sweepstakes in the hope of surprising him and taking him to see something he loves. Story 130. I know the cat vomited on the floor last night. I saw it happen, but I went to bed without cleaning it, and when she woke up, she thought it happened in the middle of the night and cleaned it up herself. I said nothing. Story 131. Whenever I have a hard time, I turn it into a game where I try really hard to be so happy that it becomes infectious. I never want her to feel sad because of me. Story 132. I have a small gluten intolerance, so I usually only eat bread when I go out for dinner or buy gluten-free at home. Someone I dated used to make me bagel sandwiches in the morning, and I didn't mind the rashes it caused. I always ate the whole thing. Story 133. My fiancé loves bass fishing. He even participates in tournaments throughout the United States. I was never really into it, but I have spent some of my free time to join him on a few tournaments when his co-angler couldn't make it, so he wouldn't have to sit out. I research different baits, rods, and reels and try to save up money to buy something he has mentioned wanting. If it makes him happy and excited, I'm all for it. I'm still not that enthusiastic about fishing, but I enjoy seeing him so happy. I never complain when he's gone for a week at a time every few months for tournaments. Story 134. My girlfriend lived in a different state for a while finishing school and planned a surprise trip for my birthday. I figured it out fairly quickly, but let her believe I was surprised when she arrived. I even allowed her to tease me a bit about missing little things she slipped up on in conversation. Story 135. Almost every time I go out to get groceries, I buy a sushi tray from the grocery store. Story 136. I am a bad maladaptive daydreamer. I become moody if I do not have time alone. I am about to move in with my partner, and I worry that this could affect our relationship. Fortunately, our work schedules allow us some time apart. However, I still worry, and there is no good way to explain that I need time for myself to pace around the apartment and daydream without her thinking that I am upset or in a bad mood. Story 137. My partner's multiple alarms wake me up earlier than my alarm is supposed to, but I tell him that I like getting up early. Story 138. I had a crush on him for years before we started dating. I would tell him, but we didn't officially meet until matching on a dating app, so I feel like it's weird. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.